If you're just joining us, a very warm welcome here at the Week of VocTech 2023. I'm Dr. Maren Deepwell, and I'm the strategic lead for AmplifyFE and one of the presenters for the session today. And I'm joined here by our lead researcher. Hi, Lynne.
Good morning, Maren. Well, it's actually good afternoon. It feels like morning still, but how are you? Are you well?
Yeah, really good. I'm really enjoying this whole program of events this week, and there's so much on. So I'm kind of excited to, share what we have.
Yeah, it's great putting FE on the map, and I'm sure we're seeing people just dashing in, probably maybe finishing teaching or something like that, right the way up until 1 o'clock. So we're just leaving a minute or two just for our lovely assistant Manon, just to allow people in from the waiting room.
Absolutely. And, if you're joining us throughout the session, never fear, there'll be lots of opportunities to dive into the AmplifyFE Insights Report and find out what really works in vocational education and technology. Now, just a quick housekeeping reminder. So, as you will see when you come in, the session is being recorded, and we invite you to just sit back, relax, feel free to switch off your camera and mic, and just enjoy what we have in store for the next, 25 minutes to 30 minutes here with you. Lynne and I are both going to present, and then we're also going to encourage your participation in the chat. If you have questions, we'll try our best to answer those. But we'll also be sharing a QR code and link to the research that we're presenting, and you can dive in and explore that at your leisure. So, Lynne, I think we've got quite a few people in the room now. So, if you're happy, let's go and start off.
Wonderful, let's do it.
Great. Well, as I mentioned, we are here to celebrate the launch of brand new research, the AmplifyFE Insights Report 2023. And this is a piece of research that's being carried out in partnership between the Association for Learning Technology, ALT, and the UFI VocTech Trust. Now, I'm going to kick us off giving you a little bit of background, the story so far, what's been going on, and particularly if you're new to AmplifyFE, and this is a partnership work that you haven't discovered yet, we'll get you back up to speed. But basically, AmplifyFE is a professional network in FE and vocational education that we launched together in 2020, and that now connects over 2,500 FE practitioners and also professionals from the vocational sector. The Amplify Insights research is a really important part of the work that we do. And each year, Lynne leads the research, and we'll dive into the results from this year as well, to really think about what works and how can learning technology and digital tools be designed and deployed to support vocational learners most impacted by the digital divide. So we're excited to be part of the Week of VocTech to help give you some really practical things to take away about beginning or continuing an innovation journey in VocTech. Now, for this piece of research for 2023, we've been looking at this through three different lenses. We've been looking at commercial learning design teams who are creating solutions for FE. We're also looking at VocTech innovation projects within FE and skills organizations, and FE and skills practitioners deploying VocTech with learners. And I think it's fair to say, Lynne, that this is one of our sort of key passions in AmplifyFE. We're very much by the community, for the community, a real grassroots effort. So we're very excited to bring you some of those insights. But Lynne, I think I'm going to hand over to you now to explain a little more.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Maren. Lovely to see you all here today. So we began in 2021 with some initial research on what worked, and we launched our first Insights report at the Week of VocTech, almost exactly a year ago now. We don't want research, though, to just be sort of published and preserved in aspects. So for us, it was really important that once the research came out, we took it out to the sector to say, what do you think? What do you agree? What do you disagree with? What else would you tell us? So we spent the last year, and that's Maren and also Emma Proctor-Legg is a very important member of the team too, and myself, just undertaking sector consultation on the findings with a research review. And that's also culminated in us adding some VocTech case studies from real expert teams who've been very, very innovative. So for the week of VocTech, we're now presenting our updated findings.
Thanks, Lynne. That's great. And before you jump in, I just wanted to give a big shout out to some of the case studies who are going to be at the showcase tomorrow. I'm really looking forward to that. And if you are one of those and you are in the room, then we're very much looking forward to meeting you in person tomorrow.
Absolutely, we are. And our key expert sources, I mean, AmplifyFE is a shorthand, and I really wanted to stress that we're talking about post-16 education in its widest sense. So we've got a lot of love for FE colleges, large colleges. I taught in one for about 15 years, so I have a lot of love for them. But our expert sources came from right across the sector, so independent training providers, adult and community learning, ESOL, prison education, so the widest possible range of expert sources are feeding into our research. So we use sector intelligence, so from ALT, UFI and RSA. We spoke to VocTech designers and project managers, and that was my privilege actually to spend lots of fantastic time in focus groups and one-to-one interviews with these people, finding out, the key magic recipe for VocTech innovation. We also talked to VocTech leaders and end users. So we had some wonderful consultations at conferences, Outset, LSRN, and many more. But for me, some of the most important dialogues came from the wider FE community of educators and learners. So that's our AmplifyFE and UFI VocTech events, and also extensive social media engagement. And that's, things like Twitter chats, UKFE chat. So important to take in that informal input that can give us such nuance and be so valuable.
Absolutely, Lynne. And I want to stress that if you're new to AmplifyFE, just have a look at your social network, either on LinkedIn, on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, and look for AmplifyFE. There is a friendly community out there and it's rapidly growing. So if you're not quite sure where to start and you're looking for somewhere to make your first connections, we can help you along the way.
Absolutely. And there's a big shout out to Chloe Hines, who is our community lead and wrangler. So Chloe will welcome you to the community and we'll give you some ways to find out how to join later. So we were really, very, very pleased that our key insights from the first year's research were corroborated by our sector consultation, that really wide sector consultation this year. And that's what we're going to discuss here. So the initial research found that these pivotal factors empower digital skills development for adult vocational learners, and also really important to understand teacher learners as well, because all teachers are lifelong learners. We mustn't underestimate the need to open doors and ensure that people have digital access and support and time to develop when they need it. So busy people, with families, how can we make sure that they've got the access that they need and on-demand support when they reach that point of stuckness? When we've got them online and we're selling the value, meaningful use is really important. I know some lovely maths teacher friends of mine will say that, the last thing that adults want are problems dividing up sweeties in a maths class. And that's the classic thing that happens. And it's the same with digital. So adults need meaningful use. So how might we save money on train travel? How can we communicate better with our families? What events might we go to? And that kind of relevance is going to give them, the impetus and build their confidence using it. That's what's in it for me moment. While we're doing that, it's really important that we are empowering them to safeguard their well-being online. So aware of, online risks. Beyond that, we don't want to think of, digital learning and digital presence as being entirely negative. So it's so important to empower adults to develop that positive digital identity. We might be thinking about a persuasive presence on LinkedIn that employers will enjoy looking at. So able to shout about and share their projects and their passions and the things that they're working on. But also an awareness of the kind of skill set that that is needed for the future. And a little plug for the our VocTech showcase tomorrow, Maren, which is all about AI. So I know that's the hot topic. So these upcoming, emerging skill sets that people need to develop.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that comes back to what you were saying before around sort of empowering, but also thinking about exactly the skills that are needed to make that happen.
Absolutely. So not only searching for information, being able to critically evaluate it, and all of those things. So we were very lucky to attend all of these wonderful events, the LSRN Research Network, Blended Learning Consortium's annual conference at Howe College, the ever important ALT annual conference, which is at Warwick University this year. And also I presented research and got feedback at BERA, the British Educational Research Association at Aston University early in the year. And those all flowed into our sector consultation. So what we're going to do now is share, you'll probably recognize the lovely Menti word cloud. We love those because it's a great way of getting opinions nice and quick, and that's sort of like headline news. So these were perspectives from delegates at the LSRN conference about barriers for vocational learners acquiring technology skills. And you can see that our key findings there: access, confidence, and time. But also they were pitching in some really interesting things about curriculum design and trying to avoid overwhelm and teacher expertise in terms of not getting saturation being key as well.
I think that's one of the slides that I've looked at a lot, because one of the things that really resonates with me about the research is not just thinking in the abstract, sort of how would this happen in an ideal scenario, but we're still dealing with a lot of overwhelm, with a lot of burnout, as an aftermath of the pandemic. And I think really listening to how to and what works resonates in the current context, I think was really powerful. So I love these kind of snapshots of consultations.
Absolutely. And we can see the one from the BLC here, and that's, inclusion and accessibility, but also funding being important there. And I think that's a really, really rich one, bringing like digital poverty, learners trying to work with outdated technology, being besieged by too many apps, and inadequate resources, but also the importance of pedagogy there, digital pedagogy, again, coming through. Curriculum design, skilled teachers who can overcome language barriers and also be aware of the challenges for neurodivergent learners who are acquiring digital skills. That one at the top is really super important for me. Teachers who do not value digital. Remember that FE teachers are such mentors and role models for their students. And if they are naysaying digital rather than, reflecting the benefits, that can be a real barrier and almost permission not to engage.
Yeah, I think a lot of these barriers resonate a lot with I think what Rebecca Garrett Waters often calls learners furthest away from opportunity. Yes. And I think that was really came really strongly out with this audience, the sheer range of steps that can lie between us and the learners that are hardest to reach.
Absolutely. It's welcoming them in, isn't it?
Yeah. I wonder, Lynne, if you're happy, as we're doing good with time, to maybe pick up a question that we have from Louise. Louise wanted to know if throughout the research we got an idea of the scale of people who don't see the value of digital.
Well, I think the Good Things Foundation have done an awful lot of valuable research about the actual scale of the problem. We saw commonalities coming through about digital poverty being very, very important. And actually, the interesting thing was that the picture is that it's actually FE wide. So there aren't curriculum area specialisms other than perhaps, learners studying digital, but that scale can go across all of the vocational specialisms. And it's really important that we're not only helping learners to develop generic digital skills, such as how to use LinkedIn, but actually the specialist technology that's needed for their vocational area. So what people were telling us from all curriculum areas, all subject sectors in FE, that there was that same problem with accessibility, digital poverty, and lack of support and the need for expert teachers. So actually that the scale is huge and it's sector wide.
That's really interesting. Thanks, Lynn. This one really made me laugh. I'll leave you to narrate that.
Oh, absolutely. So again, lack of data, adverts everywhere. So, some people can be completely flummoxed and I join them in pop-ups. Where is my main screen? How many things have I got to close? Do I need to hit the back button? Oh, it's got rid of everything. We've all been there. And that overwhelm can be so profound. And it's also about empowering learners to see the commonalities and the little quirks that all digital platforms have. But there are certain things that we can say about them all that will give them that confidence to have a go. But yes, I loved adverts everywhere. It's all of us.
Well, one of the things that it reminded me of is, I think we all have different challenges of kind of helping parents of different generations to navigate technology. And if I could explain to my mother what a window is on her computer, I would be a lot further along, because she is one of those people who just doesn't understand how all these different colorful images relate to one another.
No,
anyway.
Absolutely. It can be absolutely overwhelming. And, the BERA annual conference delegates were echoing this. 10 years in 10 days is one of my favorites, because it was a comment on the digital journey taken by FE staff at the beginning of the pandemic. So rather than having time to put together a strategic plan, they had to do 10 years digital development for learners within 10 days. And for the people, I'm not keen on digital immigrants, but it did become quite a catchphrase. The people that we're trying to invite in, that sheer speed of got to get online. I think what we've got to do is almost consolidate people's knowledge and take them back a step to say, yes, we did this in a terrible, terrible hurry, and you got what you needed at the time. But now let's really take pause. We don't want go backery, as Lou Mycroft would call it, in terms of backsliding and not using digital, but perhaps we need to take more of a pause and a more reflective and strategic view as to the kind of digital skills that our learners need in every subject area now. Technology usability, family size was so important. The battle for a device for online learning. Yeah. Entertainment versus edutainment versus education, all of those things. So I think that was, a very powerful set of results.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and as well as corroborating our key factors, delegates really expanded powerfully on the digital access pivotal factor. And again, it's that need for device sharing between a family, or actually sometimes even students at a provider. Overloading of home digital network capacity. As somebody who lives out in the wilds of the countryside down an unadopted lane, I know what happens to our broadband at about 6 p.m. So provision of appropriate study space. So particularly for blended learners, having a dedicated space for quietness and for study and reflection where they won't be interrupted. And that would give them the ability to set regular and sustainable study routines. So, that's a really, really important thing to get into the rhythm of digital study.
When I look at this slide, and I'm so, I think two things come to mind, because I think it's a really powerful insight, which is that, however often we remind ourselves, I think the perception that every learner has, a wonderfully connected kind of powerful device in their pocket or in their backpack, just that sort of perception is very widespread. And I think when you read, particularly policymakers, that sort of glossing over the infrastructure challenge around digital poverty is, I think, really, really key. But the second point, and that's related to that, is that, I think you could basically take this slide and replace the idea of digital learners into staff. because all of the things that that are challenges for learners are also challenges for their teachers. Who has appropriate study and workspace at home? If you're all working from home and you have kids who are studying from home, you really need very reliable internet,
Mm.
and so on and so forth. So I think it's really interesting how we're learning a lot about the workforce as well as the students in this particular piece of the research.
Absolutely. And also, thinking, probably more inclusively about locations. So rural communities, prison learning, some
Mm-hmm.
of that can be some of the most challenging places to get access, and how we get equity of access for everyone.
Yeah, yeah, God, that is a challenge. Absolutely. Okay.
Yeah.
What's next?
Well, also, we took a bit of a deeper dive to look at the significance of the impact of the 5 pivotal factors. So there you can see our pivotal factors, but delegates were asked whether they thought the impacts on their learners had decreased, increased, or remained the same over the past year, which was a really useful snapshot, I think, to do.
Mm-hmm.
If we can have a look
Okay.
at the results of those, we can see from, again, this is rather lovely Menti, obviously, and if something is of very low importance and low impact, it's going to appear with my maths teacher hat on in the bottom left, and if it's
Yeah.
high importance, high impact in the top right. And all of our pivotal factors were, viewed as very, very, very important on that scale. So
Yeah.
the impact on learning was high.
Mm-hmm.
But the recent changes, we found that the time to develop necessary skills hadn't actually improved a great deal. It's
Mm-hmm.
comforting, welcoming to see that digital network access has improved, and to a certain extent on-demand support. But digital confidence at the start of courses, the perceived value of digital skills for work, which is, I know with the JISC research, is a huge one, and
Yeah.
time to develop necessary skills are not improving as quickly as we might want. Um,
Okay.
yeah, and we're seeing that picture here. So with the exception of time to develop skills, all factors were lessening in impact. So we find, that's a very, very welcome message as we come out of, the pandemic impacts to a certain extent.
Mm.
So our
I
key
love this one.
is that, well, you must take credit for the wonderful graphic design, because that is not my forte. So Maren has been creating all of these wonderful images that you're seeing. And this is the drum that we keep banging, that the end user community's identity, values, beliefs, and purpose, not just their immediate digital needs, are the thing that should drive the digital pedagogy of designers and of teachers. And informed digital pedagogy should be the thing that drives digital design and strategies and tools. So not the black box in the corner dictating your pedagogy, but your end user community's identity and values and beliefs being the driving force for digital innovation.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Lynn. I think we have this last one before we wrap up. So talk a little bit about this one, please.
Yeah, these were what one thing would you tell a new learning technology innovator? Keep it simple, plan and test, start with the learners. Again, that learner-centered model of digital innovation. Think about student autonomy, training for people who are using it more than once, co-design all the way, which is wonderful. Don't rush, don't use too many different tech applications, keep it simple, learner participation. But that one there on the bottom right is my favorite. Answer the why before you begin. So what is the key problem you're trying to solve? Listen to learners, understanding their motivations and barriers. Listen, listen, listen was the key message here. Also, find out what technology they're already using and meet them there, rather than, oh, well, we're going to be using this learning environment now. If they're on WhatsApp or they're enjoying Twitter, then that's where we should meet our learners and reach out in the first instance.
I love that. I think the message to meet is really powerful. And I am aware of time, and thank you so much for those of you who are
Oh,
participating in the
pleasure.
chat. We will certainly be be answering questions. And yeah, thank you to
Mm.
Lynne for talking us through the key findings. We do want to say a huge thank you to all of the engagement partners that have contributed to the work over the past year. There are too many to mention individually, but it is a heartfelt thank you nonetheless. And I now wanted to share with you the URL and the QR code so you can access our case studies and the report itself. When you have a look on the page, you will see that you can download the key summary, the full report, as well as each of the 8 case studies. And I know, Lynne, that tomorrow you'll be talking about one of the case studies as part of the Week of VocTech showcase in partnership with AELP.
I will indeed. Very excited about that tomorrow in London. I'll be in conversation with Peter Kilcoyne, who is one of the innovation team for Teachermatic AI. So we'll be discussing that. Can I just bob into chat for a moment? Because Patrick has asked us, in what situation is community-based learning ineffective and the opposite? One of the
Yeah.
other case studies is from the wonderful Sandra Smith and her team at Coventry Adult and Community. And the way that they cracked this problem was to go out to the learners. So bus passes and travel passes and please come into college, there'll be free tea and biscuits did not work. So they split their team and went out into local community centres, into gyms, into libraries and places where their learners would be. And you'll find that, talking of our case studies, Sandra and her team, as well as Peter and Teachermatic, are one of those case studies.
Fantastic. Well, as we're giving some shout outs and we are nearly out of time, I wanted to give a big shout out to Simon Bell, who is also in the audience, a familiar name. And Lynne, I was just saying in the chat, big shout out to Simon. Did you want to
Absolutely, I
say anything
certainly
now?
do. I'm so busy looking at chat. I'm not looking at my participant list, which I shall regret later. Simon contributed an excellent case study of bite-sized video learning for adult revision, which was fabulous. So I think that's amazing, the diversity of case studies that we've put together. So video learning, AI tools to help teachers, students building a bridge in an engineering problem, the lovely AP Connect community. There's such a richness in the case studies. So as well as reading the research, we would really encourage people to do that. And Simon is an important part of it. So hello, Simon.
Thanks, Lynne. Well, I think we are in our last minute, so we don't want to miss the opportunity to say a big thank you to the UFI VocTech Trust and all the colleagues who've supported us over the last year. We are so excited to working in partnership and making all this wonderful work for AmplifyFE happen and making the community happen. So I know, as we are at the Week of VocTech, I do want to encourage you to find out more about all the exciting opportunities around grant funding and venture investment, as well as partnership and advocacy. Please do get in touch and find out more. And hopefully that's given you a bit of an appetite of what's possible working in partnership here in vocational education and further education. So, Lynne, any last words as we're very much in the last minute?
No, I mean, do keep in touch, get involved with the AmplifyFE community, because rather than just transmitting what we've been doing, today, answering a few questions, but mostly in transmit mode, we want to hear your stories. So Chloe and the blog will give you the opportunity to shout about what you're doing. Why not do a podcast for AmplifyFE or a webinar? So there's lots of opportunity, not just to hear about our research, but to become part of future research that we're going to be continuing.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Lynne. And thank you everyone for joining us here at the Week of VocTech. Really looking forward to seeing those of you who can make it at the showcase tomorrow. And I hope you do go and explore the AmplifyFE Insights Report 2023. Thanks very much for joining us.